Welcome everyone, it's Glacier Guy Rock. The Glacier is always doing another studio update. It's the 24th of November, and yeah, we're kind of working our way through it. We're going to talk about some models I've painted, and we're just going to kind of talk about reveals and just other things Warhammer related. So let's get into it. If you happen to notice behind me, there is, that's Onyx. He was just diagnosed with early stage kidney disease, so he's on a new diet. He's old, he's almost 15. And he has a new sister, which is a border collie. You might see her wandering around. They are not friends. They are not friends at all. They don't like each other. Well, she really wants to play with him, and he doesn't want anything to do with her. So if you see a fight back there, you know, that's just what that is. All right, let's kind of get into it. So, been working on some Sisters of Battle, really slow. They're super detailed, and the biggest problem is I had a fully sub-assembled squad of Zephyrim, so the ones with the swords and the pistol. And I had them sub-assembled. I was going to put them on the normal plastic flight stands, and I realized after painting one, I was about to apply the washes. I had done the base coats and was getting ready to wash the model. And when I took the sub-assemblies apart to re-glue it back together, it broke. It snapped apart. And it turned out that when I had sub-assembled them, I had drilled into the backpack where I thought it would have been fine. I applied a little bit of super glue to the pin. And that actually caused a lot of problems. There was too much super glue, and it was too hard to scrape away. And so I sub-assembled them not in the best way. And I started looking at the other 9 models in the squad that were sub-assembled that way, and a lot of them ended up having the backpacks, the jetpacks, just completely break. Now, luckily, I had the Christmas, I think this was a Christmas or Battle Force box set from last year. That came with the 15 sisters. I think it was a summer box. It was 15 jump sisters with the Canoness, the jump Canoness, and the Exorcist. So what I did is I did a little bit more research, and so it seems like Seraphim are a little bit better right now than Zephyrim, so I made 10 Seraphim. But they're either jumping off terrain or they have like one flight stand. They're not using the plastic flight stands, and I fully assembled them. It makes them a lot harder to paint when they're fully assembled and not sub-assembled, but I fully assembled them just so it's a lot cleaner, and I'm not going to have any more broken models. So and aside from being a little bit more difficult to paint, it's not been that big of an issue. The biggest problem is just there's so much intricate little detail in the sisters with the way what do they call tabard cloaks? They're cloak things. They just flap around everywhere, and it's hard to kind of get your brush where you want to. And I hear all the time, like, well, if you can't get your brush in there, you're not going to see it. But in certain poses, you are going to see those things. So you still got to paint some of those hidden spots, which is why sub-assembling is a lot easier to get those hidden spots, but it is harder to put the model back together. So if you're like me and you sub-assemble it incorrectly, you're going to run into those issues. Now, the model itself is a Chaos Space Marine that I got from somewhere. And what I did is I followed, I think his name's Maverick Paints or Maverick with Paints. He does a lot of exploding Space Marines, so I kind of blew the model out and then added a bunch of milliput and put a bunch of pieces of the broken model back in together. It's the first time I've ever done kind of flame effects, and so it's not the best it could be, but I think it works for this. And the concept that Maverick was using was the bolter shells go into the armor and then explode inside. So that's why when you see the model, she's shooting down in through, got him in the shoulder, got him right here in the front collar, and then got him into the head. And so it's going in and then detonating. It's going in and detonating, and then you can't see it behind the loincloth. And the loincloth's actually, there's a couple other images you'll see. Also, one thing with these models is I didn't wash these models at all. This is the first time I've tried just doing base coats and then deliberately lining in the shadows by taking the base coat color, adding black to it, and then so it's whatever Mephiston red, and then I added black to get this dark line, and then I just went and did my old panel lining as best as I could. And same thing with the sister. None of these are using washes. The only washes on the model are on the base texture. But the models themselves are all done manual highlights and manual shadows. And it has a look to it. It is a little bit easier in certain spots and a little bit harder in other spots. And I feel like the more practice I get with it, it might be a little easier. And then trying to figure out getting the blends right will be pretty good. But let's see it from a couple angles. So we see her from a side, and then this is a little good profile. So you see the front of the cloak. The explosion is kind of pushing the front of the cloak out, which I think is pretty cool. And this is supposed to be a red Corsair. So she's just flying above it and shooting through. I thought about maybe animating the rod that she's using as like a bolt shell coming through. I thought about making it light, but I think I'm just going to keep it black for now. A nice little back angle. And then it's blowing up right through the crotch area. And so I actually cut the legs and the arm and repositioned them. So they don't look very repositioned, but this is kind of like right at the point of impact, where the explosion is just starting to show up. Yeah, and the silver is not washed, and the silver is not even highlighted. So this is just basically, this is a darker silver, and this is lead belcher. But yeah, I just kind of left it as is. All right. So what we got here is, this is kind of going on under our topic for guard. So this is just an image of models that are either already legends or I believe will become legends, as well as this guy down here. So we have a Praetor armored assault vehicle, and there's a model that's not on this picture that I also think will also probably go to legends as well. So the Praetor armored assault vehicle, I think it's highly possible everything Forge World for guard is going to go to legends. I can't think of anything that's Forge World, that's guard, that's not in 30K is going to stick around, which is a huge unfortunate, because guard have had one of the largest Forge World releases that I can imagine, because like Necrons didn't have that many big guard stuff. But I think this is just the largest Forge World, because you had Elysians, you had Deathcore for a long time. Sure, there were some decent Forge World Space Marine releases, but Guard have had a lot of Forge World stuff, a lot of tanks. So we got Macarians, you got the Stormblade there, you got all the flyers. The Aeronautical Imperialis had a lot of stuff. These in the back they're supposed to be Vendettas. I didn't use the Forge World Vendetta upgrade kit. I just kind of had some extra plastic las cannons. I kind of slapped those in there. I think these are from Land Raiders, and these are just las cannons, because you see there's no gap there, but there's a gap there, so it's different las cannons. But yeah, so the Macarius Vanquishers, Macarius Battle Tanks, the Macarius Omega's already legends, the Macarius Vulture, and I think all of them are going to go legends. And why I think that is because they're gone from the web store, like the Marauder Destroyer, Marauder Bombers. They're not on the web store anymore. They're either gone from the web store or they weren't in the reveal announcement. And that's just kind of the way Forge World has been getting rid of a lot of stuff. Will the Stormblade stay? So what has kind of been conveyed, to my understanding, is that it's either everything's going to go plastic 30K, or some Titanic class models are going to stay Forge World. And I know Forge World and games were and the regular GW merged, like they don't have separate storefronts anymore, but they're still on the same website. We didn't get a plastic Macarius, and a lot of them are out of stock, and it says sold out online. Typically when it says sold out online, you're not going to get it back. If it says temporarily out of stock, you might see it come back. But the Bombard's already gone. I never got a chance to get one of those. The Praetor is not on the website anymore. The Crassus was, but when I looked earlier today, the Crassus was shown sold out. Same with the Stormblade. So I feel like we're going to lose all. I believe we're going to lose every single Forge World model for Guard. And they're all going to go Legends, because all the ones that we were seeing, like the Macarius Infernus and all those other ones, those went to so there's in the reveal for 30K. So either the Macarius is going to go 30K, which is kind of weird, because the Macarius was, in my mind, always synonymous with Krieg, and we were hoping we were going to get Macarius with Krieg. But I think with the Lehman Russ and the Rogaldorn and the Baneblade chassis, I don't think that we're going to see a medium range heavy battle tank because the Rogel Dorn exists. And but the profile of the Macarius is perfect, and unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna see it as soon as this codex reveals. I could be wrong. They could keep it around for 10th edition, but unless we get a plastic one, I'm not 100% sure. Now, could we get a plastic one with a Catachan release in 11th edition? Maybe. But I'm not hopeful. And also, I don't think we're going to see the Marauder, Bomber, or Destroyer ever come back. Outside of the Imperialis, the plastic miniature 6mm flying version, I don't think we're going to ever see these in resin ever again. So these are probably going. They're more than likely going to Legends as soon as Guard drop. Which is a bummer. Now the Bomber has never been good, which is a shame because the Bomber should be good. But the Bomber itself has never been good. The Marauder Destroyer has always been overcosted. As far as a weapons platform, it's always been neat. It's a neat painting opportunity. I really like the Destroyer. I will definitely in the future be using these models in battle reports, even if they're Legends. And let's say they go to Legends and the Legends datasheets disappear. I will make homebrew datasheets to feature them in stop motion battle reports. I don't care. I will make my own rules up to use these if they're not Legends in any edition moving forward. Will I be able to take them to games? Probably not, but I will always field them on the channel if I'm going to field that army. So if we're fielding Catachans, we're fielding the Destroyer if points costs allow it, which we'll probably will. If we're fielding Steel Legion, we're definitely going to be using the Stormblade and the Macarius battle tank back here, and so we're going to be using them whenever we feel like using them on the battle report, on the stop motion battle reports, because I bought them. They're good. They're cool looking models, and I want to keep using them. The Praetor Assault Carrier, I can't remember. So there's one model that's not in this picture, and that is the Crassus Armor Transport, and that was painted for Steel Legion, which kind of really, it bums me out a little bit because I have a 2,000 point Steel Legion army that has the Macarius battle tank and the Crassus Armor Transport. Now, for functionality's sake, I can just take a Stormblade or Stormlord, because Stormlord is a Baneblade chassis tank, and it can take 40 troops inside instead of 35 that the Crassus can take. So point-wise, I just get a Stormlord, paint it, Steel Legion, the Stormblade goes in the shelf, the Macarius goes in the shelf, the Crassus goes in the shelf, and the list doesn't change significantly. I think I have 30 extra points left over for something. Probably an HQ upgrade of some sort. So the Steel Legion, as long as infantry squads don't go away, the Steel Legion army is just kind of one big super heavy model. Or if I wanted to, I could do 3 more chimeras, kind of figure something out. I have some salamander chassis, so it's basically I built a lot of basilisks, but I only used the basilisk gun, so I still have the chimera bottom plate, so I can fabricate out some open topped chimeras for the Steel Legion. So I have options for either 3 chimeras or a Stormlord. So the Steel Legion, I could possibly play them like with other people at like stores or whatever if we're not doing Legends. I just need to know if we're gonna keep the infantry squad, and that is a big concern. I don't know if we're gonna keep the infantry squad because right now we have Cadian shock troops, and we have Catachan jungle fighters, infantry squad, and we have Deathcore Krieg. We have Deathcore Krieg models. We still have Catachan models, but they've lost Draken and they lost Harker, so a lot of their characters are going away, at least on the web store. So I have either we're going to get a refresh of Catachan HQs, which they weren't in the reveal, so I don't think so, or they're going to be gone. And I think Catachan Jungle Fighters might disappear as well, or maybe the Jungle Fighters will beat what's left, which I'm not sure, but let's kind of keep going. So yeah, these are models I think that are going to be Legends. But aside from that, let's go into what was revealed. All right, let me close this real quick. Okay, close that. Okay, So this is from the World Champions preview. We have the new Deathcore Krieg box set that's going to come out sometime in the beginning of the new year. I will be getting this army box set. I don't know when I'm going to get it, but I will be getting it. Probably just one box. Because it comes with the Marshal, the Dryer, whatever his name. I can't remember. I only heard the pronunciation once. But he's basically like a Solar Lord level model. He looks like he's on a normal horse base, or maybe a slightly larger horse base. But he does, like, all the Deathcore Krieg models that are in the revealed look cool. Is it everything that I would have liked to have been revealed? No. Obviously, I would have liked a plastic Macarius tank. That would have been amazing. I kind of would have traded in the artillery carriage for a plastic Macarius. That would have been a lot cooler. But aside from that, I think these all look very Kriegy. I definitely like this cybernetic horse thing. It looks awesome. And then we have the Death Rider. The Death Riders. Death Riders look awesome. I always wanted the Death Riders to come out in a plastic. I never bit the bullet. I never bought them in resin. So they look pretty cool. They all have power sabers. They all have las carbines. They all have the spears. They're looking nice. Funny enough, so the engineers squad. I messaged GW because they were still selling the resin engineers on the Deathcore Krieg engineers with shotguns, the 5-man unit with shotguns. They were still selling them on their website, but they had no rules. They weren't in Legends, and they weren't in the Codex. And so I had a feeling we were going to see engineers. Unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to... I mean, we're not 100% sure, but I think we're going to lose the mole launcher. I think this little robot in the engineer squad is going to replace the mole launcher. Maybe, maybe not. It might actually just replace the little bomb robot thing. I forget what I called it. But I don't think we're going to see the mole launcher, and I don't think we're going to see the Hades breaching drill. It could be possible they might keep the Hades breaching drill, they might keep the mole launcher as Forge World, and they might come out in a future, like, another Guard Krieg refresh. But I think what GW will do is I think they'll just be like, they didn't really sell that much. We don't really want to redo them in plastic. We don't want to deal with, like, the mole launcher rules, and I think they're just gonna scrap the Hades breaching drill. They're gonna scrap the mole launcher, because that's what you used to be able to take. You used to be able to take an engineer squad with the mole launcher and put them in, and essentially put them in the Hades breaching drill, but kind of behind it, because it was like a breaching drill that counted as a transport, that counted as a deep strike. It was weird. Yeah. Now the question is, because I have the original Deathcore Krieg engineers that are just 5 dudes with combat shotguns, and some cool shovels and backpacks, and I think one of them does have, like, a pistol. So, like, I think one of them doesn't have. That's a good question. I have never opened these, but I thought they were all just 5 shotguns. But I think I see one pistol. But with these ones, can I use the resin ones? One, will they be the same base size as these new ones? I know they won't be as easy to assemble as the plastic ones. Plastic ones will be easier to assemble. But can I still field my older ones, weapon loadout-wise? Probably not, but we'll see. And then, moving on. So, I do like the engineers. I think they're funny. Someone was complaining that the engineers have Luger-styled pistols. We've discussed this at length in the 40K community. The Deathcore Krieg are based on World War I French uniforms, and yes, there's some analogs. I won't go into it, but the Luger itself was used by a lot of nations, and so that pattern is synonymous. It's used a lot. But looking at this engineer with this guy with the little backpack and the little, I think this little thing is kind of a combination Hades breaching drill and mole launcher. I think that's kind of what it is, but they wanted to just do this. It says, especially remote mines, all extra valuable in close quarters. So we got, now the question is, is everyone going to be able to take shotguns and flamers, or do we have to take a flamer? I don't know. I'm curious. Heavy trench clubs. Why not shovel? I don't know. I definitely see that some of these clubs are going to get swapped out with shovels. I know that's going to happen. And then we do get this really cool heavy artillery. This is on a really big base, and it's only one, so it's not like the field ordnance batteries where it's two on two separate bases. This is one, and you get to pick, which one you want. And I think so. We have the Medusa, we got the quad mortar, we got the rockets, we have the Medusa-ish thing. I think it's, what is it called? So we have multiple rockets, heavy quad launchers, siege cannon. And do they call it a Medusa, or do they call it? No, they call it a heavy mortar. We have heavy mortar, quad rocket. Yeah, okay. So this is a heavy mortar. It's a Medusa. That's what the Medusa was. Medusa was a siege mortar. This is definitely going to have to be sub-assembled to paint this thing, because this thing is super intricate. And of course, you have the siege cannon. Now, we don't know rules yet. We don't know weapon profiles yet. Obviously, the siege cannon looks indirect fire-ish, but the way indirect fire is working, we do have a siege detachment coming out in the new codex. I didn't see anything about an infantry detachment. We have combined arms, but I didn't see an infantry focused detachment, which is probably because people don't like infantry only armies when it comes to guard, because you have too many models to move around. I would think that'd be cool. There is a tank only one, but there's a siege one, which sounds very indirect fire-ish. Now, I think the rockets, the rocket one is, was it anti-infantry 3? It is pretty cool looking. The quad mortar is cool. Like, I think all these, if these are easily magnetizable, I think any one of these would be cool. And if I'm looking at it, it looks like the only thing that's different on all of these, aside from maybe the loader, I think the loader and the gun itself is the only thing that seems to be different. So if we could make, and I don't know, sometimes GW is really good with magnetizing and using all your different options in one platform, and sometimes they're not. So I'm curious to see what we're going to get out of them, whether or not you can just sub-assembling this and magnetize it and have like the only thing that's not like bespoke is the loader. But that'll be interesting. Obviously, if you get the limited edition box set, you're going to get the cool new guard codex, which hopefully this time we get to use it for more than a few months, because the last bespoke guard codex that came out with the Acadian box, which I haven't even finished assembling, that one with the nice, really embossed codex was only good for like 3, 4, and 5 months, and then it was the 10th edition dropped. Anyways, and then we have coming later, we do get a command squad, and the Krieg command squad has 2 commissars instead of a commander, so that's interesting. I happen to have both of the Forge World Krieg command squads. I have the one with the fancy looking pompous guy in a coat with, like, they have a brass rod for the flag, and I have the other one, which I think this one comes with a couple special weapons. I don't know. Yeah, so this one, yeah, we got a saber. This one's a smaller flag, but I don't think that I can really sub in the old Krieg command squad with these for the new Krieg command squad, just because the models are a lot different. I mean, I probably could. I don't think it would be too hard, but I do have these ones are looking very fancy, and so instead of like Lord Marshals or whatever, they just have commissars for the command squad, which is kind of interesting. I'm curious to see what the loadout is going to be, and the special rules, like, are these only going to be able to be attached to Krieg, or are these guys going to be able to lead shock troops or infantry squads or Catachans? Like, I want to know what the leadership situation is going to be moving forward. I would I would like for these to be in the current state. If this was just being added to the current existing rulebook, I would like for any leadership model to be able to lead any battle line. I don't care if it's Catachan. I don't care if it's Cadian. I don't care. This should be able to lead it. But if we're talking about what I would ideally see, I would like this to only be able to lead Death Core models. And I know that's kind of very limiting for a lot of players, but cohesively, vision-wise, that's what I would like to see. Now, in the weird, bizarro world we find ourselves in, where you have Attilian Rough Riders and Catachans and Cadians all stuck in the same damn army, which is not how it should be, then this should be able to lead any one of them. We'll find out. I'm concerned that now that we have the Cadian Command Squad and the Cadian Command Squad and the Krieg Command Squad, I don't know, is the Catachan Command Squad still for sale? Hold on, I don't want to mess with what's on the screen, so let me see. Catachan Command Squad. Catachan Command Squad. Is it still available for sale on the web store? It is online only, so the Catachan Command Squad is still available. So if the Catachan Command Squad, that's the question. Is it going to be renamed to Catachan Command Squad, or is it going to stay Platoon Command Squad? We don't know, because the Platoon Command Squad is a holdover from the old plastic Cadian, air quotes, Cadian Command Squad, but it has loadout options for both the Catachan with a heavy flamer and the Cadian Command Squad with all the different options that came in that box. And so if they're still selling the Catachan one, the question is, are we going to get a Catachan only Command Squad in the new Codex? I don't know. So it's really the big question, because what I did for some of my armies is I made a Platoon Command Squad. Like for Steel Legion, I used a Platoon Command Squad because I didn't want to use the Cadian Command Squad, because they can only lead shock troops and not infantry squads, I think. They may have changed that. But at the time when I made it, I had to use a Platoon Command Squad in order to attach it to my infantry squad. And so that weird disconnect, I'm not a fan of that. I think unless we're going to get rid of infantry squad, which I hope we don't, if we do, it's going to be some problems. But anyways, the video's already long enough. Alright, but let's look through some of these models. They look pretty cool. I think you have in here there's like a junior commissar, which is pretty neat. Yep, and so we have a nice little medic engineer, like medical person. The flag looks awesome. We have at least one special weapon guy with a melta-gun here. That looks pretty cool. And then we get, so this part is pretty nice. Now, I hope these are on 50mm bases, like the other heavy weapon teams, but we're getting the heavy stubber heavy weapons. We get an extra guy. I don't know the purpose of the extra guy. And I think this is funny because, okay, so you get heavy weapons, and a fire coordinator is always on hand to get everyone shooting the same straight line. Okay, he can also help them crack off a last-ditch shot right before they perish. Okay, so when we went from 60mm bases on our heavy weapon teams to 50mm bases on our heavy weapon teams, it was a pain. I even still have some that are still on the old 60 because transferring them to the new 50s, especially with the older model, is not super easy to do. With the newer heavy weapon team for the Cadians, it's not that big of a deal because they're designed to be on the 50. But I can see that GW is having some problems putting two guys on the same 50mm base. And so what we have with the new heavy weapon team is we only have one gunner, just with the gun by himself, and then we have a fourth guy who's just kind of hanging out, just kind of there, you know. He's the fire coordinator. He's just hanging out with the team because we just couldn't stick with 60mm bases. Well, and the annoying part is when your base size goes down, because then you definitely have to rebase it. You got to pull it off the old base, and you got to figure out how to put it on a new base. If you're going to play in competitive circumstances. I know that GW says you can use what base it came with, but I also have heard from TOs and other people that go to tournaments that they're very iffy depending on if you have to pick the new base size or not. And so there's a lot of an issue with that. And so I see that, like, in order to fill out the base, or in order to basically, you couldn't put two dudes on the base, so that we're going to have one guy. So, yeah, I guess that's the problem with going from 60 down to 50. 50 does fit in a lot of places a little easier, so that's fine. But, so let's see, base size changing. Well, actually, that's a good question. Are these 50s? Because these might be 60s. I think they're 50s, but they could be 60s. The Sentinel going from 60 to 80, that was annoying. You could at least put it onto an 80 and like just make it slightly higher. So that was fine, but yeah. I do like that we get heavy stubbers or a las cannon. Is it a regular las cannon? Is it a heavy fancy las cannon? I don't know, but we get this heavy flamer, and the heavy flamer, they were talking about in the video that like you can have like a heavy flamer and two las cannons, or a heavy flamer and two heavy bolters, or two heavy stubbers, and like the flamer can overwatch 18 inches and keep everything away from your other two heavy weapon teams. But the problem with heavy weapon teams themselves is they require line of sight, because they're not indirect, and so they're not going to get charged so much as they're going to get shot. And then the heavy weapon teams, they're not a tank, so they just kind of get wiped off the battlefield. But if you want to have some fun, you can just put 3 heavy flamers, and they have 18 inches, and you can put them inside a transport that has firing deck. And if you can find a transport that'll take 3 of them or more, like a Stormlord, and you have firing deck, and you can put, like, I don't know, 9 heavy flamers in there and shoot 18 inches from the giant. There's a lot of fun that can happen. So while I am concerned about Legends and a lot of models going away, and a lot of models that I've painted not being playable outside of my channel and outside of like fun, friendly games in my house, I do like all the Krieg stuff that has been announced. Now, luckily, I am so glad, because there were a lot of people that wanted a Krieg infantry squad box that is different than the veteran box that comes in the kill team. It looks like they didn't do that. It looks like this is going to be the Krieg infantry squad for the foreseeable future. They might not ever change this at all. This might actually just be, they might rebox it to where it's not kill team only. They might rebox it to where it's just like normal Imperial Guard. They might rename it so it's not Veteran Guardsman. They might rename it to, because I think the Veteran Guardsman is leaving kill team soon. But this is probably just going to get rebranded into just Krieg Infantry Squad, which is cool. I don't like the way the loadouts are with the Boxcaster and the Plasma Gun, but I do like that the 6 boxes that I bought a while ago that I haven't assembled yet are going to be usable, because that's what I bought them for, because I was going to eventually do a Death Korps army. I also have, they're not in stock anymore, I have a Death Korps Krieg Mars pattern Leman Russ, and so that will be a tank commander at some point. And it's not any different than a regular Leman Russ. It's slightly different than a regular Leman Russ, but it doesn't have any extra weapons or anything. And so that will be my bespoke single fancy Krieg Leman Russ. And that's the cover of the Codex if you don't get in the box. So it's very, very Krieg focused. What would I like to see that is not in this box, that wasn't announced? If the Macarius is not sent to Legends with the release of this Codex in January, then I would like to see it in plastic at some point in 2025. A plastic multi-part kit with the Vanquisher cannons and the battle cannons and the Vulcan cannon or the Omega gun. I would probably get at least 2 plastic Macariuses, because I don't have any Vulcans. I don't have any Vulture Macariuses. I would probably get 2 of them. But as far as everything here is concerned, I don't have any problems really with this box. I'm definitely going to grab one of these boxes when they drop in January. I'm only going to get one because I don't really see a huge need for more than one. Because it looks like you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you get 10 Death Riders, one big cannon, one HQ, and one 6-man squad of engineers. So this box is going to be interesting. The combat patrol for guard moving forward, if you like the current combat patrol, which is a command squad, 20 shock troops, and a sentinel, I think that's what's in there, and a field ordnance battery. Is that what's in there? Hold on 1 second. Combat patrol. No, not comnat. Combat patrol. Imperial Guard. Where are you? Come on. Hurry up. Combat patrol. Astra Militarum. Okay. Yeah. So field ordnance battery, sentinel, 20 shock troops, and a command squad. That's a good combat patrol. I think that's a great combat patrol. And if the new combat patrol is 10 Rough Riders, maybe they make the Rough Riders better. 10 Rough Riders, a squad of Kasrkin, and a command squad. Which the command squad could attach to the Kasrkins, but they can't lead the Rough Riders. So the new combat patrol is kind of lame. So if you are trying to figure out if you want to have some Cadians or not, I would pick up the current combat patrol now. I have one of them. Well, in the box, I sort of have one of them. I have some other just regular boxes of shock troops, but yeah. Pick up the combat patrol now, and then you can pick up the combat patrol later, because Kasrkin have been hard to find for a while. I think right now they're easier to find, but when they first dropped, they're really hard to find. I think you can only take 2. Can you only take 2? I think you can only take 2. Is that true? Can you only take 2 Kasrkins? Hold on, I gotta go to the... Maybe tournament-wise you can only take 2? Let's go. We go to Master Militarum. Let's go to Battle for. Let's go Steel Legion. They're not battle lines, so let's go to the other dash. Let's go Kasrkin. Where are you? A, B, C, D, F, G. No. Do I know my alphabet? Here we go. Can I add 3? It looks like you can add 3. I think there were issues at some point where like you couldn't take, or there's no point in taking 3. I don't know. But they were hard to find for a while, so I have 2 of them. I haven't done anything with them yet. They're still in the box, but because I was gonna finish Sisters of Battle, I was gonna go to do a bunch of train, and then I was gonna go to Deathcore Krieg. Funny enough, I was gonna do Deathcore Krieg. Depending on how Krieg come out, I'll probably do Krieg, or I might do Cadians. I'm not sure, but we'll figure that out. So let's see. That was pretty much it. Let's take a quick gander. Let's go back real quick. Let's take a quick gander at Heresy. So, I don't have a solely auxiliary army because I have not gotten around to 30k. I do have an Alpha Legion 30k army that's in some squadron painted, some are not. But the Valdor Tank Hunter was Imperial Guard model that you could use in 40k. It is currently not. It's the same Malpador chassis, which is probably going to go Legends as well. So we get the Valdor Tank Hunter. That's looking pretty nifty. And then we get the Malcador Infernus. Okay, so the Malcador Infernus is finally going to plastic. So we get the Valdor Tank Hunter, because the Malcador battle tank went to plastic, and we were missing the Infernus option. So now we have the Infernus option, and we have the Valdor Tank Hunter. So if you're playing 30k Solar Auxilia, you're eating good. You're getting a lot of plastic tanks that are really cool looking. I looked on GW's website earlier, and the light transport vehicle, which I think was only ever in resin for Solar Auxilia, that looks like it's sold out. I wonder if you guys are gonna get a plastic version. But you're also getting a plastic lander. That's kind of cute. I wonder what its transport capacity is. But we're getting the lander. You're getting the Valdor Infernus. At some point, if I ever get into 30K, I'll pick these up. So the problem is, I always wanted these dreadnoughts when you could use them in 40K, but now that you can't use them in 40K, I kind of don't want them anymore. But the Daredevil dreadnoughts always had like a cool profile. It's always looked really weird, like kind of like a fat guy, kind of like a guy that's like does like he's like a bodybuilder who retired, so he got a little chunky, but he still lifts occasionally. That's kind of like what I think the Daredevil dreadnought looks like. Um, but it is pretty fancy looking. It's got a bunch of guns on it. Get some plasma guns, some autocannons, or you got Volkite, or you got las cannons. You got different missile pods. That look cool. So 30K is looking pretty nice if you're into that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. It has been 40 minutes, so I hope you guys enjoy. Yeah, just slowly working on getting those scissors. I was hoping to get them done by the end of the year, but there's a lot of scissors to paint. So maybe by my birthday I'll get them done. Maybe by April. We'll see. But anyways, hope you guys enjoy, and I will talk to you next time. Goodbye.